Hello, everybody. My name is Abraham, aka AB Twist, and this is another episode of where I'm tackling an exam which is interactive music system. So, for an assignment brief, it says as an expert in music instrument digital interface software design, create a bug free system that can store MIDI notes information. Question 1, using Max 8, create a MIDI note storage system that can be used to control a 61 key note piano keyboard. Yeah. Question 2, using Max 8, construct an 8 bar percussion phrase. So basically, I will be using a digital system to create instruments, and these are the steps that I'm gonna go through while creating the 61 keys, which is what I'll start with in question 1. So first thing I obviously want to do is have my Max 8 open. This is my Max 8 right now. It's open. Um, Obviously, for me to be able to create the keys, I need to add an object. The object is going to be called K slider. So I can just click there, K slider. There we go. Now, if you look at it, obviously it's not the amount of keys that I want. Since I'm trying to make a 61 key, I will definitely go to my inspector here and make sure that I have the 61 keys that I need. And there we go. So it's now a 61 key. Next thing I'll just look at is what does it do. I've got my output, which key value changes or received based on the keys that are being pressed, and I've got a knob here that's velocity from mouse based on height. So my voltage is based on how much I press my K slider based on my mouse, and that's the voltage because it needs the voltage, and that's the voltage that will be sent out. Next thing, definitely, I just want to add um, a message box just for me to see what happens when I press these values, but we'll get to that. So for example, I'm going to move on now to the next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to create a make note object which allows it takes a default velocity. It also has a duration and a default channel, so it has three functions on it. So if you look at me adding the make note, we're gonna have a make note, and before we can look at this make note, I need to be able to add my values basically so that I know what values I'm gonna be getting from this keyboard or my piano. So obviously I need to give it some values that it can follow. I'm using a 61 note, so obviously I will have my 61 notes here. 61 notes. This is from the phrase the highest value, which should be my 61 from my 0 based on my K slider. And obviously the duration is important because it's how long will this key be pressed in order for it to give me that value. So for duration, we can stick to 250 millimeters per second. So we add 250, and I've got my velocity here, which is my 61, my duration, which is my 250. I do not need the number of channels because I'm only making one channel for this. And there we go. So for me to be able to get information going from my K slider into my make note, it needs to be patched. So I will connect the patch outlets, obviously from my output here, which will then go from my K slider to my pitch make note so that it can be able to make the note. So just to align it and make it look more, you see, it goes into my make note. I'm I'm going to connect the velocity output to make note velocity. So I need to find my velocity output, which is this, and that goes over here. So this is my note value. Using a message box, I can be able to see the values of what is coming out of my case slider. So ideally, if I had a note here, a message, sorry, I would want this message box to be somewhere over here so I can be able to see, and I would just want to connect this into that. So eventually I will definitely show you how it will look like once I able to press my notes. Next I need so I'll add another message box here so that we see what values are coming out from this side and values that are coming out from this side. I'll go and add a message, which should then be here, which comes out into my message output. There we go. So I have my make note here, which will definitely give me the notes that are being played here coming into my output. Next I need to add my cycle value button to receive frequency notes to generate in a sine wave form. I mean, all this frequency has to be generated in a waveform, whether it's my sine wave, it could be it could be a sine wave, it could be a square wave, it could be a triangle wave, but for this I'll be using a sine wave. So definitely I need to add my cycle. So we move on to adding a cycle here. Let's go to object, say. Now if you look at the cycles here, it's definitely an oscillator that I'll be working with to generate that sound, turning that voltage into sound. So this is the cycle that I want to use, and if you look here, there's a symbol that states what is used for your audio for this program. So definitely I'll get my cycle there and add a cycle. Of course, now that I've got what type of sound it should produce, but in order to convert the MIDI notes into frequency for the cycle takes in frequencies, not voltage. I need to be able to convert that into MIDI note, the MIDI note into frequency. So I'll definitely need an mTOF. This is connected to the cycle. It does not convert the frequency to MIDI notes, so I have to add a gain object in order for it to be able to convert. And obviously I need an output so that I hear what is going on. So my isDAC will be my output sound. So let's also add my isDAC for the output. Over here, audio output and on and off button. This is for my audio. So I've got the speaker there that shows that definitely this is what I'll be using as an output. Next, after adding my output, I definitely now need to go back and add my mTOF, which is my I need to add an mTOF, which will definitely convert the MIDI notes into frequency. So I'll definitely need to add an mTOF. Messages, we can add one here. mTOF, convert a MIDI note number to frequency, and there we go. So this will be used for the conversion from my MIDI note into my mTOF, into my cycle. So I definitely want to connect my output into my mTOF here, which is the MIDI note number in, and then from my mTOF it goes into my cycle, which is over here. This is for my signal, my frequency. That way we have a frequency that will be played from my mTOF. From my mTOF, this would convert, and then the cycle can read the frequency and turn it into, or MIDI note and turn it into a frequency. Sorry. After I connect that, of course, now I need a gain control for this frequency that is going to be coming out of my cycle. So I want to add gain control over here. It looks something like that. So we can just put it here, and then I need to add an ADSR to shape the sound that is definitely coming in, because I mean, without the ADSR I won't know what sounds are there. So I'm just gonna first bring about all the components that I need to bring about this sound. So as you can see, I can add a message ADS. That's my ADSR envelope. So with my ADSR envelope, this is how you shape the sound itself. It's got an attack time, a decay time, sustain time, and my release. So obviously, since I'm making something like a piano, obviously it's got its tone, timbre, its structure, its wave structure. How fast does it kick in when you press it? How long does it take to decay? My sustain and my release. So all this is in time. It's measured in time. So for my attack, I definitely want, let's just say, 10 milliseconds. For my decay, I'll put 250 milliseconds. For my sustain, I really don't want a long sustain, so that the next key can come in without it overlapping frequencies. I'll put it at 0.8 milliseconds. And then for my release, I'll put it at 250 milliseconds. 250 milliseconds. So this is what will be definitely followed with my ADSR. And then we move on now, I need to be able to add a divider. A divider is used for being able to send the values from my make note into my ADSR, because my ADSR needs values for it to be able to work. So I'll definitely add a divider to this patch. I would need a divider. Let's go. I need to find my divide symbol. That's it. As you can see, it's over there, my divider. And my highest value would be 127, 127 space. Oh, sorry. And enter. So this is my divider based on my highest number. We've got our ADSR there. Next, I need to add a multiplier, so that multiplies whatever my ADSR is giving me. It multiplies it and then sends it to my gain control. So we're gonna add a multiplier here. Multiplier star. And we'll keep it at 0 because that's where it should start from. 0 is my first number. Remember, this is computer programming language, so we should be able to to add values, and 0 is a number in coding, so we start from 0. Let me just do that again. Multiply two signals, since this is audio that we're trying to achieve, which is my 0. Oh, there we go. So now let's patch this thing up and see how we will be, if we'll be able to get some signal or sound from this keyboard, from this piano that we are creating. So obviously my make note here has to come into my trigger, and then from my trigger I will connect it to my divider, will go into my ADSR so that it can follow the times that I have put there, and then from my ADSR I will connect it into my left inlet, and then from my left inlet this has to, my cycle has to send that information into my multiplier, and then from my multiplier obviously I have to send it to my gain control over here, and then from my gain control, which is my output, I need to connect my left and right output right there. So now let's see if there'll be anything that will happen if we're gonna get the sound that's desired from our patching. I just increase my gain here, and we have some sound. Set our output option so that we know if it's playing or not. I'll go to my preference. Let me just unlock this. Edit mode, option, audio setup, and where's my, supposed to give me a pop-up menu. There we go. Audio here. Let me do that again. Options, audio setup. So I'm using a sound card, and that'll be my output option. So let's see if we have the sound. As you can hear that, we've got our piano playing. Let me just increase our output. So I can control my output gain. So we want our gain somewhere here. And that's how I've come up with this 61 midi note piano. So yeah, it's not very complicated to come up with. You just need to know the exact functions of what you're using, what messages. And as you can see, since I set my messages here, I'm able to see what is coming out, what my output is giving me over here as well. And yeah, that is how I would create a MIDI note, a MIDI, a piano, basically using my Max 8. Thank you.